Welcome back to the Charismatic Voice, everybody. I am here today with Floor Jansen. Am I saying this last name correctly? Jansen?
You do, yeah.
Okay.
Jansen, very good.
I
Yeah.
admit I watched a few other clips to try to get that one correct over the years. And Floor, thank you so much for being here today, especially as you are crazy busy, not only with album releases, but also with mom life.
Yeah, I am, but I'm very honored to be here on the Charismatic Voice. It's quite something you've built for yourself there, so I'm honored to be your guest today.
Thank you. I've honestly been looking forward to this for years, I can say. So years and years
Nice.
of wanting to chat with you. So I'm so glad. Floyd, traditional question for you. Tea or coffee?
Well, both, depending on the moment of the day. We tend to drink tea during the evenings nowadays. It used to be an afternoon drink when I was growing up, actually, but in the morning it's absolutely coffee though for me. And as I'm your guest, I'm of course here with a big cup of good tea.
I like the owl too. So cheers to you.
Mm,
I like your
cheers.
owl.
Yeah, it's been Nightwish inspired.
Excellent. I'm I love that you do both because I do think that there's a lot of value in both. Even though I'm definitely a tea girl, I still have coffee every now and then. And I
Oh
think
yeah.
I worked in a coffee shop in Seattle for a few years. So like
Mm,
really good latte. Yeah,
nice. Yeah.
that's good stuff. Um,
Yeah.
so Netherlands. You're from the Netherlands, and there are so many people, so many fantastic singers, I should really say, and
Mhm.
musicians from the Netherlands. Is there something in the air there? Why do you think the Netherlands is developing so many incredible musicians?
Well, yeah, it's a good question. I mean, it's a tiny country for sure, but we did manage to squeeze in quite a lot of people. So we're with about 17, 18 million Dutchies. But I do believe that once there is a success of sorts, like many years ago, Anneke van Giersbergen came out with a gathering and just all of a sudden had a hit on radio with a metal song that creates interest, and not just from an audience but also from venues, maybe from record companies. Oh, a band like that worked so well, we want to have something more of that. And other bands get inspired to do something like it, like Anneke inspired me so many years ago, because literally when I heard it, that song on the radio, I was like, that combination, I want to do that too. So I started looking for a band and I found a band and we started working. That was After Forever. Um, a record company was already interested because they had already heard something like it. Venues were interested because they had successful gigs with other bands, and so I think you create a platform, um, and that it attracts yeah, a lot of people, and from that many comes a couple of good ones. But why so many good ones? Yeah, that's interesting.
There is something in the water, I suppose.
Yeah, we have a lot of it. That's maybe it. Yeah.
Stay hydrated. Good voice. Yes. When
Well, it's called Netherlands for a reason. It means that we're below sea level. So that's my that's why the water joke. If the water would rise, we there was no more Netherlands.
let's keep the Netherlands there.
No more global warming. Yay.
Yay, right? That would be great. Uh, when did you first hear Annika?
Yeah, that must have been 95, 96.
Uh-huh. And
Yeah.
so you went into After Forever around 16, right?
Yeah.
And so was that 95, 96? Gosh, so you would have been like 14 when you first heard her?
Yeah, like yeah, a little bit before. So I would say yeah, maybe 15 when I 15, 16 when I heard her. And it
Hmm.
didn't take me very long to from there to say I want to also sing in a band. So yeah.
That's amazing. So that I always like talking about defining moments in people's lives.
Yeah,
And it feels like that was a really defining moment for you.
absolutely. Yeah, because I I was already singing and I was writing songs with my acoustic guitar. I joined pop bands, um, but I'd never really found that what I was looking for yet, I suppose. So when that came, it was like, whoa. And I used to play my songs at parties, like if of friends. So friends would always ask, "Can you play your song?" Or songs. After a while, I had a few, and then, um, yeah, I just said it to people, like, "Oh, it would be great to do something like that." I love that band, and I started listening to metal more. Pantera came in, Machine Head. So yeah, but most bands I listened to were pretty heavy, and the vocals were very powerful. But that I could find with female vocals was often the female voice was on the background and pretty light, atmospherical. They would call it opera, but it was just a very light, high voice where they would somewhere in the high do something like that. And Anneke came in with this power. It's like, yes, that is what I would also want to hear. So from there, I said it to friends, and friends said it to friends, and then I got back this request from a band that was looking for a backing vocalist. So I also started as a backing vocalist in a band with a growler. Oh.
Oh, okay. So growler in the front and backing, got it. Um, Throughout your career, it seems like you've been balancing so many different vocal styles. And I was actually really surprised to say you were doing some acoustic guitar and like some pop songs first. Was there classical weaved in at that point, or was it really not till university that you started bringing in classical? It sounds like you started bringing in that like that more powerful middle voice with After Forever.
Yeah. Yeah, that was my first attempt to do operatic singing.
Oh.
But if we go back in time, let's not forget there was no internet yet. There was nothing for me to really listen to. There was mixtapes, and if I had the money, I could buy a record. But it's that long ago. So everything I was doing was coming from um, yeah, just trying, basically just trying. And without proper examples, I did not really want to do like classical opera, but I wanted to bring in that power and still sing high. So that was it, I guess. That was what I was trying to do. So it was very interesting to hear Nightwish come along, where an actual trained opera singer came in. But I never had a vocal lesson in my life when I joined After Forever, and it wasn't until the second album that I started to study. I did manage to come into a school for music without ever having singing lessons, but fortunately I came with a talent. But I was completely, I said, call it the rough diamond. I had no uh, idea what I was doing.
It's kind of amazing how far I think singers can get on talent. In fact, some singers can go all the way. I feel that every now and then you have somebody like Dio that just exists, right?
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah, yeah.
what?
That's it. Yeah, yeah.
But
I mean,
then,
I really see technique as a mean to an end. Now, it took me on a journey, but in the beginning, I was so hungry for technique that it became a thing of its own. But actually implementing it was much more difficult, like to make it a means to an end. But that's a whole different story. But I think I was born very, very lucky there too, with the talent, a very easy voice. God, I never had real voice problems, just never. And I've tried everything and I've done everything. I've toured intensively. I've been super, super tired. I've been sick on the road, everything, but it always somehow manages to stay alive. And then it's of course an interesting discussion. Where is the natural and where comes in technique? It's yeah.
mhm. Yeah, exactly. Was there a point where you felt you needed to start relying more on your technique?
I guess the moment when you start to get sick, for instance, yeah, and you feel that okay, now I kind of need to if you think of a gear shift, I need to kind of shift more differently and more often, which is a technical approach to what's happening in here to avoid certain pressure, or when everything is irritated, or there's maybe some mucus in there, and then certain parts of the vocal cords is just very hard to reach, so you kind of need to sing around it. I think that's where technique really kicks in. And
Okay.
then comes an experience as well that says, okay, I need to um look and sound like I do 100%, but I'm doing less in order to make sure that I can still do tomorrow. And if it's a longer tour, well, maybe the day after and the day after, because if you go on a 6 week tour and you get a cold in week one, technique and experience is going to be the savior, your safety net. Because,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh man. I got really excited and some of the parts where you're talking about this gear shift that happens because I was like, oh, how does she think about registration? And so when you're talking about that, are you thinking when you're sick, do you tend to shift into a higher register earlier to relieve vocal pressure?
yeah. As an example, yeah, yeah,
That's so cool. That's so
yeah.
smart too.
Yeah, but you can still color it a little bit more as it would sound like a higher chest voice, but it actually isn't. And maybe bring on a bit more twang on everything.
Yeah, bring
Uh,
that extra focus in to help keep it aligned still.
yeah, yeah. It
Ooh,
you kind of lose a bit of the openness in the sound, but it's so much easier, and that will just yeah take you give your vocal cords a less of a beating.
yeah, relieve some of that breath pressure coming up. Uh, how do you think about your registers? Do you think about chest voice, head voice? Do you think, I mean, it really, gosh, there's so many different ways to talk about it. Some people say one,
Yeah.
two, three. How do you think about yours?
Um, Nowadays I don't.
Oh,
And yeah, nowadays I realized, but that's maybe that journey that I've been on, what I mentioned earlier, where I feel that technique is a meaning to an end. I don't think about it anymore. I'm also not teaching anymore, so maybe I'm not completely up to date with the modern ways of describing it, all the techniques that have been coming in the last decade. But if we go back in time once again to when I started studying, the amount of vocal techniques for modern singing, it was, yeah, yeah, hundreds of years of techniques for opera singing, but maybe a decade or so of modern. And with still a lot of vocal teachers saying, yeah, that way of singing is ruining your voice. It was, yeah, which is interesting. We've come a long way in a short time, I would say. And I had lessons, for instance, with something called Estel's voice training
oh
system,
yeah. Uh-huh.
where the teacher with a book in its hand started to tell me that I need to make a movement in here, which is basically just, yeah, go from chest to head voice, if you will, if you want to call it like that. They had different names for it. But we would spend a whole amount of like 8 weeks on just one of them. So we're gonna do, I think curbing was in, and speech,
Oh,
and they had different names for things, and it made absolutely no sense to me. Um, in came the complete vocal technique from
mhm.
Catherine Sutherland,
Oh, great.
Danish.
Yeah, yeah.
That was for me the first time I was like, yes, this is coming much closer to being complete. And again, different words for things. And yeah, in the end of the day, I think it's a personal journey. And if you're going to have a teacher, you're going to learn the description of things from the teacher that you have, and hopefully it makes sense. If it doesn't, change teachers, because
Mhm.
it is a personal story. It is whatever clicks in your system that you feel works, because I think it's of course a feeling, and in the end of the day, everything in here is the same. It works the same. It just has many different names, and I unawarely became quite good in going from one to another, like the shift of the gear from the speaking voice, or the belting voice, up to a head voice. But yeah, I could probably talk for hours in different techniques what is happening, but it's yeah. Um
All for a purpose, right? It's all to help you communicate
Yeah.
the message. And if
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I think I also feel that the focus on technique was so big, and understanding the technique, that implementing it into feelings, into songs, that last part, which is basically the biggest, most vital, um, wasn't really through yet. I feel for myself, at least, that I grew so much coming into Nightwish, starting to tell the Nightwish stories, not writing them myself, but stories already told also by other singers, really made it, had to sort of optimize the storytelling function and use all that technique to make sure that the message came across, and to really use all those different styles, since the music itself is so challenging to do. That's where I really embarked on a whole new journey, I would say, to yeah, to use it to its full capacity.
I love that. I love that so much. I just want to say, like, I feel that I've been on a similar journey in opera things where at one point I was just after technique, and
Yeah.
uh, and it is always important just not to lose sight of message. For me, I always would do lots of journaling before a performance, or even now before I'm recording different videos or trying to figure out what I want to record. I'll journal to try and find what is my truth in a day.
Yeah.
How can I best communicate that to my audience? Um, so I recommend journaling to people to help with that message building. But I imagine you have found so many more ways to help infuse meaning and message into your singing. Do you want to share some of them?
Well, the first thought that comes to mind actually is back to your opera, because I studied opera, but very briefly on the conservatory in the Netherlands. And my vocal teacher said, next to vocal, I really want you to work with a drama teacher who's going to tell you which part of the story that you are in. Because I wasn't doing a whole opera, I would sing a song
An
from
aria. Uh-huh.
an aria from, yeah. So you kind of step right into the middle of uh, a very terrible story. Often it's terrible. The character goes through hell and back, and it's always terrible misery. So and sometimes you would sing it in German, or you would sing it in German. I can still fathom, but Italian, most of it, yeah, no. Or I can run it through Google Translator, but that's besides the point. The 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 fact that most of the Dutch people anyway in your audience, if you would sing it, would get you word by word in Italian, it's also zero. So you can put as much as you want into words, but they won't get it. So
Mhm.
the message need to get through. And from there, I learned a lot from that teacher, that would help me to yeah, tell the story basically from. And so it wasn't just acting. Um, but what's interesting with opera is that it's a written story. It's already there. You're
Yep.
going to have a director, and you're going to have somebody who's going to tell you what to wear, where to stand, how to breathe. It's very conducted, as where my world is free. I can do whatever I want, which has an advantage that I can do whatever I want. The downside is where to fucking start, right? Pardon my French here.
Oh no, you're good.
So it's really like, oof, where do I, how do you do that? So I
Mhm.
guess, like I said, for me, that focus wasn't so much in until I started to get these lessons from that teacher, that I was like, okay, if I'm going to tell my own stories, I want to make sure that I tell them from my own experience, because that's all I have. But I want you to recognize it, and you and you and you and everybody who's going to listen to it has to listen it, has to feel it before getting it. It's yeah. And how to do that? Yeah. Uh, I guess in essence, I really feel that you have to mean it. You have to really through and through understand what you sing,
Mhm.
and mean it. It can't just be, yeah.
I I love a performance of you singing "O mio babbino caro."
Mhm.
I'm I heard that and thought, okay, like this is incredibly beautiful. I love that aria. Uh,
Yeah,
and
it's a beautiful one.
right, like it's Puccini, it's gorgeous, but
Yeah.
it has the right feeling behind it.
Yeah, thank you.
Super
Thank you.
cool.
I find it so incredibly difficult to sing music that's not on a beat.
And Puccini's kind of like all out there. It's very
Yeah,
familiar.
especially if they're longer. This is a relatively short one, but I've sang other ones that they continue and continue, and you go from an A part into a B part. And I think like a pop artist, like a pop musician versus pop versus classical, where pop is in boxes. You can say, okay, we have this part, and then we have that part, and usually the first part comes back, and then we repeat, and usually it's on a click or it's on the same tempo. Um, or if it changes, then you can hear it. There's no conductor saying now comes something. I couldn't learn it. It took me forever just to sing one aria, just to get from through the whole thing, which is really really funny. Like I remember music like this, but in that it was, yeah, just such a different approach. I found that very very interesting to learn.
That's
Mm.
fascinating coming from the woman that learned the Nightwish set list in 48 hours.
Yes, that I can do, but go through a classical area of 10 minutes, it feels like, I don't know, did I already do this part, or where are we? Are we halfway? Are we what comes next again? Yeah. So that's why in that case you really, really need to understand what you're telling, because then at least you know where in the story that you are. And yeah, yeah, I guess that was a good preparation in that sense for very long Nightwish songs where yeah, you also make all these shifts, and it's pure storytelling. It's so vital to that music. But now also for my solo stuff, where basically everything I sing, you have to be able to feel what I sing, else I missed something.
Mm. And I find it fascinating when I hear you sing just on awe, which is like most people when they sing awe, I think they're kind of boring. But when you hear a fantastic singer sing ah, that or just any vowel, no word behind it, but a vowel, you can hear all of that emotion that's poured into that. It's like this vowel is beyond words at this point. It's filled with emotion that cannot be contained in a word anymore. And to hear you do that in your passaggio, which is right, that upper area of the voice, the head voice, it's so difficult to navigate, but still brings so much emotion into it. I think that's just so much beauty. I
Thank
think
you.
it really speaks to how well you've honed your technique so that you don't have to think about it as much
Oh,
and just let the emotion pour in.
yeah, it's a luxury, I have to say, because I know when you talk about what I mean, I feel physically where it is, but I also feel emotionally where it comes from, and um
Hmm.
and the next thought was, oh, I'm really gonna miss doing that live, because I
Oh,
was just gonna take a break from playing live for a while, and I love just belting all of that out on stage. It's one of the best ways to, yeah, go through whatever's on your mind or heart. It's just yeah, pour it all in,
put it all
let it out.
there and share it with your audience. And there's a certain feeding that happens there that's incredible.
Oh yeah, it's an interaction of energy that yeah, that's one of the most beautiful things about playing live, regardless whether it's a big show or a small show, whether you have your audience right here or somewhere in the distance. If you can really reach through, it just starts to flow everywhere, and it's yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's I miss that too. Just putting that out there. I miss that too.
Yeah,
Obviously I didn't tour nearly as extensively as you have, but just doing operas in different places. I miss
yeah,
that.
yeah,
But I know that mom life for me at home, like it's so wonderful day to day, and there's no way I would want to leave my kiddo at this moment. I was thinking, how in the world? How did you handle touring with Freya?
Yeah.
But
Well, when Freya was the age of my second daughter now, Lucy, we embarked on a 7-week tour to the States. So for that, I needed a nanny, obviously,
oh,
because
good.
our
Mhm.
baby and she wasn't uh, walking yet. So that was for me the first and real and most brutal introduction in the combination of being a touring artist and a mom. And the thing with being a mom, as you realize, and all moms do, is when once you are a mom, you're always a mom. Touring musician, you are when you're on tour, but you, a mom, you are 24/7 and for always, which is the beauty of it. But in combination with different things in life, it's definitely a step up. So for me, that tour was an absolute heavy duty, heavy lifting experience to give the audience what they want, to give the band what they want, to give my kid what she needed, and to somewhere along the line, I failed in that part actually. Take care of myself.
Oh,
Um, yeah, because you're not going to be great if you by yourself just give everything away and you become this yeah, you're too tired.
yeah.
Um, so lot learned there. The good thing about touring is that you're either gone or you're at home. So I'm also at home a lot. And then if there's nothing to do for a new tour or for a new album, then I'm home like all the time and 100% focused. And when I leave, I'm also gone. So when she was very little, as I now experience again with the baby, yeah, the baby has to follow the mom, and
Mhm.
that makes them travelers. I think Ray was 3 for the first time. I left her for a longer period of time, so um, or 2. I can't really remember. We made it work. It was a 6-week tour, and she joined me for 3, and she was home with dad for 3, and that was the first and longest time I left her. 3 weeks. That felt like forever. Um, but yeah, by then she could also, thrive in the care of somebody else.
Mhm.
So in the end of the day, it's all about balance. What works for you and your family. And fortunately, most of these kind of situations are planned long ahead. So it's not like, oh, geez, next week, Grandma, by the way, I'm going somewhere. Can you take over? You have plenty of time to organize it. And of course, we have been depending on help of others. So especially Hannes's mom has been taking over a lot, as she's doing right now, taking care of
Oh,
Lucy. Freya's at school, soon ending school, so she's going to pick her up. So yeah, I'm very grateful for the help that we've been able to get from her and my parents as well throughout the years. Because yeah, that is what I guess most young people ask of their parents when they get kids. They step in and they babysit, and for us, it's no different. It's just when it comes to touring, we need to organize it differently. Yeah.
no. And is that partly what brought you to living on a farm with all kinds of awesome creatures around you, was to be near to the family there too?
Yeah, actually, it was it's both nice for kids to grow up there as for moms and dads who come into big cities in environments with lots of people and lots of input to come home to something where it's more quiet.
Mhm.
Um, I'm doing the interview now from a house we entered in March this year.
Oh,
Uh, but
so pretty new to you.
so it's a new house. It was away from the countryside. It's a beautiful place, but we actually miss the countryside so much that in a month we'll move again
Oh
back to the
no, a lot of
countryside.
moving.
Yeah, not ideal, but we found a lovely, lovely place once again, a little bigger, since we have a bigger family. And yeah, so that's the plan.
And the
Countryside
moving is
is
hard with baby too.
oh God, it's hell on earth. I cannot recommend it to anybody. Certainly not twice in one year, but it's interesting to think of home as where the heart is. And for some reason it's not here. So we're gonna try again.
Try again. I grew up on a farm on like this little tiny orchard in the center of
Yeah.
Washington State. So the sentiment of being the kid that gets to come home and just be somewhere quiet. I mean, I sang to the birds. I like sang very, very loudly to scare away birds so they wouldn't eat our cherries. But but
Okay.
I had chickens and uh, didn't have horses or pigs. It was more of an orchard, but we had
Yeah.
them. It was
Nice.
really lovely. I loved growing up there. Yeah. So I hope I'm not going to be able to provide the same thing, I think, to my son, but I try to have that like, idyllic quality um, in where he is, and I certainly hope that we'll get to go to a lot of farms and experience things like apple picking or just
Yeah.
be down to earth. I think that's important.
That's it. Close to nature. See where food comes from, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's very valuable. I think we are designed to be in nature since we are part of it. But the the fast life and the big cities tend to take us away from that, and sometimes a bit too far. So I can warmly recommend that. Yeah.
I love that you're able to come back to that and just settle into it and be at home.
That's yeah, it's so important. It's the contrast is really needed. And also to keep your feet on the ground, on tour, where you're always the artist, you're always the singer, you're always the center point. That is not an that is just a reflection of a part of your life and how other people perceive you or see you, and not the actual reality. I'm no better than anybody else. So when you come back home, it's also very nice to just, literally get your hands dirty. The horse still poops, yes. The dogs still need their walks, and
It
yeah,
still needs to be changed.
diapers need to be changed. Yeah, laundry doesn't do itself, still not. So that's
Oh,
good.
yeah.
The endless endless laundry, most beautiful.
Oh man. Oh man. Yes. I feel very lucky that we have a nanny that helps us out with that some, especially because we run long hours at home. But
Yeah.
luckily, my husband and I both, he's on the other side of that wall. So we're both working at home and get to be there with our son a bunch, even if we are working longer hours sometimes. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's really great, and it's a cliche to say, but it's so true. I mean, they're only young ones. And I remember with Freya, a lot of people said that to me, like, she's gonna grow up so fast, and you really want to be there for those first years. And I was like, yeah, yeah, but how fast can it really go? But as you just thought she was about 3 or 4, she is 7, and it went like this. So now we have a lot of time in between lady number one and lady number two. With Lucy now, I do perceive it differently. Like, yeah, I'm gonna take my time more than I did before. As much as I tried before, yeah, it's definitely it's just a few years, and it's gonna fly by just like that. Yeah, I mean, now she's already turning to be 1 year old, and for me, it's like she was
Mm.
born 2 weeks ago. What happened?
I feel like that 1-year-old birthday was the toughest. Two I was okay with, but one, oh.
Yeah,
Oh
baby
man.
phase is officially over, and it's also nice. They move into different things, and they can do more, and they become more of a person. The whole tiny, tiny baby is gone, but yeah,
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's just like a certain sweet, bittersweet moment. Uh,
yeah, it definitely is. But I got a memory of Freya's first birthday because we had that in the States actually, and we
oh,
bought her a big pie, like a big birthday pie, the cake with lots of cream and stuff, and we took off her clothes and I put her right in front of the happy
did she do the
birthday,
Kate
darling.
Nash? Did she dive in? Did she like it, or was she kind of like, too much? I don't know what I think of this.
She was quite careful actually, and then um, being European and not used to the American kind of amounts of sugar and things, we bought the diabetes version, which still had more sugar than we would ever throw in here. just, culture clash over there. So I don't think she really liked it, but and neither did we. So we just had fun with it, made it into a physical kind of, food fight. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. That's funny. My son also was not quite persuaded by the cake. He was like, "Whoa, mm,
Yeah.
right?"
You're a kid, you're supposed to like this.
Right, you would think, but good taste, perhaps.
Yeah.
So your daughters are more separated in age. How did recovery from pregnancy with singing especially, how was that different first time and second time for you?
Ooh. Um, I'm gonna say something weird right now, but I never had a recovery time for the voice.
You didn't really have an option.
No, no, I didn't. Certainly not now with Lucy being I got pregnant right in the middle of everything, um which you can plan a pregnancy, but not 100%. You can kind of say, like, I think it would be great if we could get pregnant here and there, give or take. I was 42 at the time, so the odds of me getting pregnant were very slim, just to get pregnant at all.
Mhm.
You have a 40% chance in the first year of trying. And
Yep.
then, so the odds of getting pregnant immediately are atmospheric, really, really, totally super, super small, like 1 or 2%.
Mhm.
Uh, Especially if you just had been sick and you've had tons and tons of stress. Nothing there made any sense, but I got pregnant like that. Woo!
You're like,
Good
whoa,
for me.
good
I'm
job,
super
body.
excited about it. Yeah, still works, but that meant, like, I still had incredibly much to do. I was going to release a solo album. I still had Nightwish World Tour. We were going to record a new album right after the World Tour. And yeah, damn. So at the end of the day, I didn't quite make it to the recordings. I was simply too tired and way too big to pull it off with the 100% that you want to give. So we decided to postpone the recordings of my voice at least till after the birth.
Mhm.
Then she decided to be late, of course, with 2 weeks. So everything just moved, moved, moved. And in the end of the day, I ended up singing the new album 6 weeks after Lucy came. Yeah, that's
That
not great.
That's crazy. I mean, like it is doable, but wow, like your body just I just think about where I was 6 weeks after being pregnant. I was like, I was still a mess.
Yeah, yes, I think I was too, but voice-wise, it just because I prepared the guys for the worst, like I don't know what to expect. I
Hmm.
can't really train right now because, yeah, because I'm physically not really able to do it yet. I can barely stand without having pain. So um yeah, the things that come with the postpartum things in a female body, which is amazing. We are miracles when it comes to that. It's a fantastic thing. Um but 6 weeks later, yeah, I could stand pretty well without pain, and of course the muscles are far from back in place, that you would use your core muscles really. So just from that part I was concerned. I had not been singing at all, so yeah, I didn't know what to expect. I couldn't fly yet because I couldn't bring Lucy anywhere. So this time the guys came to me, which was great, and we really made a workable, uh, an idea of a working schedule. Let's see what happens. But I'm gonna have limited time because I'm still feeding an absolute newborn, and I'm her only source of food. So every 2, 3 hours she needs to eat, which does not, make you go into the studio for hours in a row. Um, which was a good thing because I would not have been able to do that.
No, it's true.
But then you kind of limit yourself and cut up parts to work. And I don't know if it was that or just whatever it was, but my voice was like, "Yep, there we go. Nightwish, we can do
Um,
this." And so within these short blocks of time, the voice just said, "Yep, here comes the song. We can do it with the backings," and then I would take a break to physically recover and to breastfeed and to yeah, and then the guys would work on the parts that we just recorded, and sometimes we would just do another song in the next block that we would have, and then in the evenings they would work on whatever material that we could. But I was just like that.
Well,
Yeah.
it's like the voice just knew what it wanted to do. Your body was
Yeah.
recovering, but your voice was ready to
Was
go.
already there, yeah, and that I, of course, in the months before my maternal leave, I have been practicing the songs, and
Mm.
I do really believe that conditioning is the key. It has a bit of a negative ring to it, but you condition your body to do something again and again and again. That has resulted to me singing whatever I want to do without having to think, "Ooh, I have to open up this," or "I have to think of my chest," or "I have to think." Very, very, very rarely, the voice comes in and says to me, "Floor, the rational part, the rest is just feeling, it's just doing, it's fully automated." And I think that has been my training, that has been my journey, that has been the result of all the hours and hours and hours I spent on learning technique, owning that, learning it really, really, going up the hill with knowing, okay, I'm doing it like this, it's going to be like that, but I'm not really there yet. You know,
Mhm.
that I've made the journey, I've done it all, I've stood in front of the mirror in thousands of hours. And because of that, you can do something like this, I guess.
I believe that that's what carries you through, man. And you've had so much discipline to just keep that in your life, even when you're on that time off of tour. I know some artists are more likely to just take that totally off. It sounds like
Yeah.
you keep it going. You keep training.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I've stood in front of the mirror training at home for years, apart from warming up my voice if I'm gonna record something, or so I don't have to actually train like that anymore.
Mhm.
Um, or maybe I should, but I have not been doing that thus far. Better said. There's always more to learn for sure, but just by keep doing it, the voice has been keeping up really well, and I've been able to unlock new sounds and find new ways of using it. It's not like you stop learning, or the whole evolvement of your vocal cords. It's an ongoing thing. It's really an interesting process, really.
You just said something that I want to dig into a little bit. I'm a little bit obsessed right now with understanding how distortion or harsh vocalizations are
Yeah.
created. We actually we have this whole campaign to fund vocal research on artists like uh, you think about Tatiana Shmailuk or Elisa White Blues, people that are really making extraordinary growls. And you did this earlier in your career too.
Mhm.
I think it was with Revamp. I want to say I was looking at a clip, just,
Yeah.
or yours is an Empty Hope. You did with Nightwish as well,
Yeah.
where
Mhm.
you're creating these just extraordinary distortions. You mentioned Sadolin earlier too. She has some great research on this. When you're exploring new sounds or like looking for a sound like that, obviously there's not a lot of information about how to make that sound without hurting yourself. And we know that it can be done, but
Yeah.
you know that there's also a danger there. What sort of feedback system do you have to tell yourself, yes, this is a good sound, this is a good color or a good idea to explore here? And like where's the limit, I guess, between what might be discomfort and pain? Where how do you know how to guide yourself?
Um, that's a good question. I approached it technically. So I actually used the complete vocal technique from Catherine Sadolin and her exercises
Mhm.
to dissect both the distortion as the growling, and yeah, do the exercises and then see, like I said, like you know you're here, you want to get there, and there's this gray in between phase where you know how you did it was wrong and how you want to do it, you don't quite get it.
Mm.
And for me, it's just a matter of doing, trying. Um, Most courses, most teachers or methods have several ways to roam, right? There are more ways than one to achieve the same sound. And so one might work for you, the other doesn't. So I try them and then I feel if it works for me or not. Do I get it or not? And give myself the time to start feeling it. I mean, obviously pain is a no-go,
Uh-huh.
but sometimes it's gonna hurt
Mm.
because you're gonna try something and then it hurts. Okay, not like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not afraid of the pain though. I don't think the vocal cords are gonna be completely messed up just because I did something wrong. So I think in the process of learning, um, with the right sensible pressure, of course, you're gonna try a couple of things and you're gonna do it wrong, inevitably. Um, just keep them hydrated. Don't push it too far. Take a break. Sing something really know after, because I do believe that once any muscle or anything in the body's had a little beating, if you then move it smoothly again in the way that you're used to, you kind of get it back into its shape. Um,
That's a good idea.
that's how I did it, and I, uh, I never sang anything rough, only during concerts. So I had this super clean sound. I could not get anything rough on until a little bit into After Forever. I noticed that this rough sound could come up every now and then, but if I would try it in the studio or at home, it would just not come, and then I would do it forced. So, which, yeah, I missed the energy from a live show. That was one thing that I kind of needed to tap into. And on the other hand, all of those distorted sounds are much softer in volume um, than clear sounds. That I didn't quite get. And I think that's super important, like rule number one thing to know about it, because it's not going to be as loud. It sounds big. And especially in a metal band with electrical boost through a microphone, it's going to sound huge. But acoustically, it's softer. And if you can stick to that, then yeah, rule number one. So that was a bit of my journey there.
That's cool. I feel that this little bit you suggested of going back to something that you know really well to sing sort of as a home base,
Yeah.
that's great. That's really great advice. I hadn't thought about suggesting that before, and that's just brilliant. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. It gets people back to also a good spot where they're going to start speaking afterwards. A lot of people don't speak well, so let's get them in a good
Yeah.
spot to sing and then transition back to
Yeah.
singing.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's like comfort zone in and out of it. And so it's both a physical as a mental thing. I train my horse. I have a young horse.
oh.
I do the same with him if I'm gonna do something really, really new.
Mhm,
Um, we're gonna try. We're gonna probably not get it right the first time. We're gonna try another time. We're maybe gonna not get all the way right, but maybe a little bit right.
mhm,
That's already great. We're gonna just leave it there. And then we go back to something we know we can do. And so we end our session like that. And I think for vocals, it's exactly the same thing. Um, yeah, also to not get frustrated in the journey towards something new. I've seen when I was still teaching actively, that frustration comes up quite fast because you can hear others do it, and um, you can almost hate me for how easy I can have it sometimes, or how it at least looks like it's so easy, but you can just do it. Yes, but okay, the journey.
mm,
Yeah. And then
mhm.
go back to, okay, this is what you can do. This is what you think is nice. It's comfortable within that comfort zone. And then from there, it's easier to also pick it back up again and try again. Yeah. Mhm.
That also touches on this idea of mental health and how crucial it is for singers to take care of it. It's
Oh, yeah, it's vital.
it's
It's,
you have to.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm I'm convinced that 9 out of 10, at least for touring musicians, touring singers that I've seen throughout the years who have vocal issues, I would say that a large part of it comes from here. Yeah,
Yep, as somebody who struggled through bits of anxiety with performance, that yeah, I definitely I think that people have different sensitivities, right? But you also have to learn how to be resilient, and that's so hard. It's just tough. But uh, so you spent a lot of time teaching. You've been through lots of different curriculums. I I think that as a voice teacher or as a student, there's just a bond that really tends to develop that is about sometimes it's less about building vocal technique and more about building confidence and a
yeah,
sort of sense of security in self. Um,
definitely.
do you think that that is something that you've seen done well? I'm wondering if that is especially done well in Europe or in the Netherlands, or if that's something. Do you see other professional singers benefiting from great teaching relationships like that? Or do you think that maybe that's an area we need to improve on?
I have no recollection of ever touching on the subject in my lessons
Mm,
as the lessons I've had. There was, you don't talk about mental health. You don't talk about touring. You talk about vocal technique.
mhm,
So at least for the teacher I worked with was absolutely fantastic, but he would really prepare me vocally, technically. He was also teaching at the conservatory, more music theater and opera. So I came in as a total alien,
mhm,
but he was so fascinated by my voice, and I was fascinated by what I could learn from him because I learned from him so much more than I learned of my previous teachers at the school I was at. They basically didn't teach me anything more than that it was very hard to teach vocals with a book in your hand that you basically barely understand, and the fact that they had to work with non-existing music of vocal techniques. So he came from a different schooling and a different background. He taught me so much, but he could not prepare me for life on the road with a metal band. Not at all. I don't think anybody could. But the technical, like we talked in the very beginning, in case you get sick or you feel like, okay, I gave a little bit too much on day one, I need to be careful day two. It's a combination of experience and technique. But for me, it's always been extremely important to have fun.
mhm.
I see a lot of singers forget about the fun part. I'm not going to go to that party. It's not good for my voice. I can't drink alcohol. It's not good for my voice. Then there's a whole list of things that are terrible for the voice. And in the end of the day, they've had so little fun that they've been worrying about the voice all the time. For every person, the balance is different. I'm not going to say you need to go to parties, you need to start drinking. That would be the wrong advice, but it's about relaxing into it. Have some faith in your system. Don't stress too much about yeah. Oh, I think I maybe felt something. Oh, I think I'm maybe gonna get sick. Yeah, there's nothing you can do about it. You need to get all the basics good. Good vocal technique, good sleep, good food. And from there, it's just going to be what it is. There's very little you can steer. So that has been it for me. And how to do that? It's partially personality, I suppose. But yeah, I wonder if it would have helped or it would help people to work on the mental aspect part of touring, or yeah, keeping your entire system in sync and in line throughout pressure.
I I am reminded of a story I read that wasn't it a offer of whiskey and cigar that basically got into the conversation that shifted your whole life into being with this wonderful husband and now two
Yeah.
children.
That's it. Yeah, beginning of I think it was, well, we had 6 weeks in the state, and then I think it was 3 or 4 more in South America that I started, and I started with whiskey and cigars. Yeah, I mean, I would not drink a bottle, and I would not smoke a cigar by myself and through my lungs and all of that, but a little bit of that. Super, super nice. So relaxing. And yeah, I happened to meet this lovely Swedish man while I was just about to immigrate to Finland. Great timing. Yeah, but yes, the rest is history. We're married and we live in Sweden with our two girls. So yeah.
It's just so sweet. I love that. I love that it was just coming from a relaxing moment together too.
Definitely. Yep. Good things come from that.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I was challenged for so long by reflux, and
Mm,
and I got in that worry hole. I call my worry holes sometimes like toilet bowl loops, where like I feel like I'm being flushed down a toilet with my thoughts, and
yeah.
we worry more and more about how something's feeling. And it wasn't until I just stopped worrying about it that the reflux went away. Like I could do anything to try and lessen it, and I was still on these drugs to reduce it, all of those things, because it's really bad for voice. But
Yeah.
I just, I stopped caring so much. It was fine.
Wow. Yeah,
Right.
there you go. Yeah, I mean it's a powerful machine that thing up here. You can think yourself sick for sure without any problem. And since I'm convinced that a lot of our physical problems come from mental problems or stress, it's yeah, it's very important to have fun.
I wonder if one of the reasons your voice was so ready to record for the new album was because you had it still going in your head,
Yeah.
even if you weren't physically practicing it while you were on maternity leave. It was
Mm.
it still was there. You'd gotten it into your body even earlier.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pre-programmed in that sense. Because mentally, I mean, first weeks with a baby, speaking of sleep deprivation, those are the worst.
Mhm,
Uh, you just gave birth, you don't really, you start with a setback. Let's put it like that.
mhm,
And then uh, we are biologically programmed to have the full focus on the baby. The rest is circumstantial. So even the Nightwish album is circumstantial, which is very dangerous to say like that, but in the right context, you know what I mean. Um, I really want to focus on it. I want to do it 100%, 120%. I want to do it as good as I've always done, despite my personal situation. So yeah, but my brain constantly thinks, "How's my baby? That's my baby. Where is
mhm,
she?"
mhm,
Both the mind as the body reacts to being away from each other, even if it's just a little, like an hour or so, which is in those weeks feels super super long. So it's really funny that yeah, that it still came out so well because I really wanted, yeah, like I said, you want it to be really 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 good for the band and for the fans, and you, yeah, I always want to perform on the best of what I can do. um so it was great to feel like, yeah, the music just is talking so loud that it can over shout the baby emotions and biological reprogrammed part there to 100% focus on just singing, and then the body said, oh yeah, we know this, we've done this, there we go.
yes. Um, I was wondering with those recording sessions, when you're talking about finding meaning in the songs that you're singing in that moment, um, do you think that it helped to have your baby nearby to maybe infuse a little more meaning into the songs?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm always a very emotional person where my feelings are always right underneath the surface. But bring in fatigue, baby, and hormones. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like, oh, so many more emotions just on the surface.
Yes, right there. Yeah. Can we take a break?
I was gonna ask, was there ever a moment when you felt the tears just so present that you're like, oh, I like they
I
gotta
have to stop
choke
singing.
up.
Yeah, oh yeah, but that is not just now. I always have it.
Oh.
There are songs where I know it's gonna come because I've prepared it. But then when you stand there and now I'm gonna sing this song and I know what I'm gonna be talking about. Um, the music starts, and I just start to cry. And by now, the guys know that they just need to keep the music rolling so I can kind of cry it out for a bit. Take number one, you don't hear me at all. You only will hear every now and then. I think Our Decades in the Sun, first time, was like that. Lantern Light Now was like that.
Oh, into a velvety night beneath the lantern light.
That's me. And then from there, I can get the roughest of emotions. The first rawness comes out, and then from there, I can sing, because yeah, crying and singing is still, talking of constriction in there. The lump in the throat. It's true. It's impossible.
It's so hard to sing past or yeah. Oof. I feel like I had this oh gosh, I had this recommendation once to me that when I had so many emotions, like a really good example is I was singing Violetta while my grandma was dying of lung cancer. It was just like, it was really challenging. They said actually with this Violetta, let's not make her die from tuberculosis. Let's make it lung cancer too. In the
Yeah,
production, they had no idea that this was happening on the side. And it was really hard. And especially in rehearsals, like the week she died just a couple weeks before the performances.
mm,
It was really hard to be playing a character where I'm trying to be going through what my grandma's going through.
yeah, yeah,
So I had this suggestion much earlier in life that you put your, like, have this idea of putting your emotions in a jar and that you put your hand against it and you feel them and you feel the warmth from them and like feel them coming through. But that way it felt a little more, it felt like I could channel those emotions and give them in a way that was really honest and true,
yeah.
but not
But
be
still
totally
have the lid
overwhelmed.
on the can.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
But uh, I think that having that ability to connect to the song and be crying and then go into singing, that's
yeah.
just, again, it's just so beautiful. It's so human.
Yeah, yeah, but I really think that we just do those things. There the taboo of crying or showing your emotions, I actually don't care anymore. I had it this weekend. I sang my solo song Invincible,
Hmm.
and I had it on this show and one before. I've been singing this song since we wrote it and released it, and I've always been able to sing it without any further ado. And now, 2 shows, 3 shows ago, all of a sudden, I saw myself back in the hospital, waking up after surgery, after breast cancer,
Hmm.
and not being able to get out of my. I couldn't wait. I just came home from South America the day after I went to surgery. So I had a terrible jet lag, and that tour was very, very tough. Um, and I did not really know yet if I still had my breast or not.
Hmm.
Those feelings and the image of where I was, like that, it just hit me while I was singing it on stage, all of a sudden, out of the blue. Ugh. And from there I had to sort of find my way back into, but I gave the song so much more. All of a sudden it became that, and I noticed that I was a bit afraid to sing it again because I didn't want to start crying halfway the song again, just like that. But there was nobody in the audience that thought, Jesus, get your shit together. Or maybe one did, I don't know, but it felt like it I just connected even to the audience even stronger. This song is my song, but it's for everybody. So everybody comes with their story, like I said before. When I express my emotions stronger, usually that comes back as well. Other people feel it stronger too. So it's a beautiful thing. Yeah, I really find it important that it's allowed into what we do, because I think we as vocalists, we are the voice of all those emotions. That's what we that's the stories that we tell. And if they are received very, very strongly, that's beautiful.
Yeah, that's incredibly beautiful. Do you think you'll be doing any more solo albums?
Well, yeah, I mean, I started writing already before my called parental leave, if I ever had one, at least before the birth of Lucy. Yeah, and so with Nightwish on a break from live playing, I'll have more time on my hands to work on that and other things. I have, it's nice albums, but it's also nice with the song here and there. I can basically do whatever I feel like. I just realized I have the possibility to do that.
Mm.
I'm not stuck in a time frame. I'm not stuck in a genre. So I can do whatever I want, and I'm gonna do that. And so yeah, new music for sure. Planning live stuff for next year. Yeah, the journey continues.
I have to say I also really enjoy your solo work, so thank you.
Thank you. Oh, nice to hear that. Thanks.
Yes. Um, it must feel a little bit scary to release an album and not go on tour with it. Um,
Super weird. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. What do you want for people to feel when they listen to the album for the first time?
I can't dictate anybody's feelings, but yeah, I would say buckle up. It's a roller coaster. Nightwish never really comes with one thing. It's many things.
Mm,
It's many emotions. It's many stories. It's complex. So take your time for it, I suppose, more than be prepared for certain emotions. It's complexity and its diversity, as per usual with the Nightwish album. But still, it really should invite to just to take a moment for it, and just sit down with good headphones or a good set, and just let it all come, whatever may come, like I had with my own song. Even after a while, and a memory gets connected to the song, and all of a sudden it becomes a story of its own. That can have it happen apparently still whenever, and I'm sure this album will trigger into many of those kind of situations. So yeah, I would say more than anything, just enjoy it, let it come.
mm. Are there any songs on there that you feel, or maybe a song or songs that you think has a vocal performance you most love? Or like specifically, I'm thinking like soaring lines, or I guess something that you feel you've achieved vocally on this album that is just really like next level.
um
Other than doing it when like 6 weeks after you had a child, like that's
yeah,
already so much
that
next level.
apart from that. Um, well, I mean, I've already been challenged quite much in the past, so in that sense, nothing really new is happening.
Mm.
One song was extremely fast,
Oh,
um, but the tempo got down a little bit. The lyrics got adapted a little bit. At first, it was almost like rapping. Uh,
wow.
the new single that's coming up, "An Oceans of Strange Islands." That was, uh, no, sorry, this it was the day off. The day off started off like that. That was very intense to sing and not to stumble over the words and still get the message through.
Too late, gather up, it's the day of same old story, cower before a caliphate glory. The big read of today will gallow you.
So in that sense, that was maybe the most challenging one, and then the regular challenges of getting a Nightwish album in your system.
But yeah, it is not simple music.
No, no, and it's so funny. It became a running gag where it doesn't really, like matter how you do it as long as you nail it. Just nail it.
Just nail it. That's all.
Yeah,
Just get it.
sure.
You'll
Yeah,
figure it out.
yeah, you'll figure it out. Yeah, but Thomas, I sometimes need to breathe. You can breathe in your own time. We became a running gag too. Of course, he never said it like that, as in to be evil, but as a joke.
Funny, but
Yeah.
Mozart also had this problem. Oh my gosh, I did a really early Mozart roll at one point, which he just wrote melismas like they were written for violins, like all
Yeah.
of these runs, and and there's no place to breathe.
Yeah. Yeah.
What?
Too bad. Do it in your own time. No time.
And that actually reminds me when I first heard Alon, I thought about Mozart. So
Yeah. Yeah, he has that in him too. Our Mozart. Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. Well, I have a few questions from patrons actually, which I love. I mean, I know you have an amazing group of supporters as well, the floor fans, right?
Yeah, Floor World, even,
Floor
yeah.
world, yes. I love seeing groups of just super fans that gather around people, and I know we have a lot of super fans in our community that wrote some good questions here. So.
Cool.
From Runa, Floor, I've loved your voice since I saw After Forever open for Nightwish at the Heineken Music Hall in 2005. Out of all of the artists you've collaborated with, is there anyone you've worked with who has left you starstruck?
Worked with.
Yeah.
Not really worked with. I wish I would. I would love to work with Lizzie Hale.
Oh my gosh, she's so
Yeah.
wonderful. You should work with Lizzie.
Yeah, I know. And we've met her once at a festival in the UK. Um, and there I met, and I felt a little starstruck because ever since I heard that beginning note of I Miss the Misery, that song where she's, "Woo," I was like, okay, yes, yeah.
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 That's awesome. Oh man. Well, I want to
Yeah.
see that. Make it
Yeah, me
happen.
too. Yeah. Mental note.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. Okay. I love that.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Getting ideas as we go.
Goals for next year.
Yeah.
Quirky Uncle Dave says, Floor, I had the pleasure of meeting your sister Irene and seeing her perform at last year's Arion shows in Tilburg, which I heard were incredible.
Mm.
As the older sister, were there any particular lessons you were able to pass on to younger sis as she started into her career?
Well, it's an ongoing process actually, because Irene obviously has an amazing set of pipes, and she always has. She just never really did as much with it as she would have hoped, and now she's doing more and more. So the Aryan stuff was kicking off that very, very nicely, and there's more coming from her, and so I'm trying to help her a bit on her way there, even though I think she has a very clear idea of what she can and cannot do. But yeah, whenever she feels like and wants to, she can always call and tap into my experiences and help her there. Because vocally, really, she needs no help. She does. She's also full of nature there. She just like she wanted to do something operatic, and she can't listen to it, and then she just did it.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
really
awesome.
amazing. Yeah,
Also, Aryan has got to be one of the coolest people to work with.
he is for sure the tallest and most fun. Yeah,
He's like a giant. Is he like 6'8" or something, right? Or well, you do centimeters.
yeah, we do in meters, but yeah, probably, yeah, something like that. Yeah,
I
I'm 6 foot or 6'1", so yeah,
You're
very tall too.
tall,
But
and he's
yeah, I'm
taller.
very tall, but he's much taller. He makes me look small.
I thought it was so funny. I have to shout out. I had some great help with preparing background information. Anytime I'm going to interview someone, obviously I've heard you a ton and I've read about you a lot over the years. But Ruben, who will have a question later, he really helped compile things to remind me of all these things that I've seen you do. He reminded me I saw you sing The Biologist
Yeah,
with Aryan and Arion, and he noted there, I didn't know this. You wanted to be a biologist when you were little.
yes, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I was such a fan of nature. Well, still am, but back then music wasn't really in the picture yet, and nature, and I thought, yeah, then biologist that's gonna be me.
Signs are everywhere. Communications right to
I I feel like we have this like so many interesting things in common, and one of them is I wanted to be a microbiologist.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
That is very coincidental. Yeah.
so funny. Yeah.
Here
Uh,
we are.
here we are.
No biologists at all.
You're like, I bet horses.
Yeah. But you're a horse girl too?
I really like horses. I've never owned one. I could see myself doing that someday. For sure.
Yeah.
I love animals.
Yeah.
Yeah. From GL Schmidt. First of all, much respect for your amazing voice and career. He's very nice. From After Forever through Revamp and now Nightwish, you have been a big part of the symphonic metal genre as it has evolved. How do you see the future of symphonic metal?
Boy.
Right? Whew,
Good
impressive.
question. I don't think I've ever thought about the future of a genre like that. I don't know. I mean, it's diverse as it is. With the access to better techniques for everyone, I think the creativity is spiked. Where before maybe you wanted to have something like a string quartet, but you couldn't afford it, so you didn't have it. And now it's basically, you can buy it in your as a plugin, and the plugins are getting so much better. So just to explain for non-technical nerds, a plugin is like a sound in your home studio. Just the fact that people have home studios, or just a good computer makes so much possible. So you can basically have a complete symphonic orchestra and choirs and any instrument you could think of. Um, um, yeah, it's right there. So I think that has changed it and will continue to do so. I hope the fact that women also play instruments and sing is still, I think it's still developing, that there are more and more female guitar players, drummers, and whatever, and that we don't need to maybe at some point name it,
Mhm.
that doesn't really matter whether it's a guy or girl doing it. That would be a lovely development. Yeah, those are the things I think of on the top of my head. I just hope that it's a genre that can keep growing. I think if I look at my journey, how it's been, for instance, in the Netherlands, where anything metal is not for the bigger audience, because they have this idea of what they think that it is, and how often has not happened that when they hear Nightwish, um, they are like, yeah, but this is not at all what I expected. And oh, I love how melodic it is or symphonic it is. And yeah, I thought it was just a bunch of screaming, angry men, which is very awesome as well, by the way, but just not for the bigger audiences. So yeah, I kind of hope that it will reach more people, because I think a lot of people would enjoy the music in its full diversity and heaviness as well. I mean, I see people coming to my personal shows that maybe came in through the softer stuff I've been doing, but they really enjoy the heavy stuff as well, and they would have never um, got to know it otherwise. So yeah, I hope more of that as well for the future.
I just have to tell you that Ghost Love Score was for me the entry drug into metal.
Great. Yeah.
And I think it's the symphonic overlap that really brought it, right? Having that
Yeah.
classical mix into it, and
Yeah.
that's huge. Like,
Yeah.
uh, if I look at the journey and like the impact that we're able to have now with research moving forward into it,
Yeah.
that's huge.
It is huge. Let's just hope that AI doesn't take over. That's that development is not really. I don't know. I don't know. I can see pictures of myself and I see people end up in discussions like, yeah, but that's not floor. Yes, it is. No, it's not. And I look at it, it's like, no, it's not. No, it's not at all, actually, me. Jesus, that's horrible. Well, yeah, no. So when it comes to music, not too much of that. Ugh,
Right?
no, let us do it, us humans,
Yeah.
us with our flaws and limitations.
I
Yeah.
know, because music is partly about being human and having those flaws. So,
Yes,
yeah.
exactly. Yep.
From Andy, in the last three Nightwish albums, the impact humanity had on the ecosphere of the planet was one of the themes. Considering the massive logistics and the inevitable carbon footprint of touring, did that play any role in the band's decision not to tour with the new album?
That would have been a beautiful one. No. Unfortunately, no. I did come me as a person in a group, it's a large organization, Nightwish, but I have been trying to raise a voice where our footprint could maybe be smaller when it
Hmm.
comes to the way we travel, the way we eat, especially in the States where everything comes in, yeah,
Plastic or the
plastic
container
or
packaging.
styrofoam.
Hmm. Hmm.
You order a meal and you order a meal with 20 people, and the amount of trash that just one group of people produces on a daily basis, I find sickening. Um, Plastic bottles, yeah, and of course, touring Europe is the same thing, just touring and the traveling. So, in that sense, I would say, even when you still do it, there is a better way of doing it. There is a more ecological, smarter way of doing the same thing. So, but it has no affect my desire, at least, on the reasons why we're not doing any tours now.
Um, I actually was waiting for that question to come up to ask you a little bit more about that. Do you want to talk about why you guys aren't doing as much touring? I'll leave that up to you.
Not really, no. I mean, we gave a fake reason, and that's because we kind of yeah, it's in for personal reasons. We're just not going to do it. So
I,
yeah,
I
yeah.
I think that there's so much you can achieve at home now, and speaking as somebody who stopped touring and doing opera all the time,
Mhm.
my impact exponentially expanded.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's so much more you can do, and time also travels fast. I mean, when you think of the pandemic, it's now already hard to imagine that we've had it and how long time ago was it, and how long were we in it. It becomes a blur, and while we were in it, it felt like an eternity. So
Mhm.
also this break, I think now it feels like shit, you know. And in a couple of years, it's just going to be over. And then there's a lot happening. But in the meantime, and that's where it all is about for now, at this moment, what to do with the time at hand. And I'm very creative with that. There's always more I want to do than time. So,
Enjoy
yeah.
your baby. How about that? Enjoy
Enjoy
your
my baby. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And train my young horse and yeah, and be creative. Just sit at home and write something nice or cook up cool ideas. Do kind of tours maybe I've never done before. There's one I'm gonna announce in a little bit. That I'm excited about. It's yeah, and I don't have to tour, year round, not at all. But I love what I do, so I yeah, recreate the balance. That's it.
Oh, I love that. That's sweet. Um, from Andre Munari, we are living in the streaming era where albums are restricted to collectors and old school rockers like me. Uh, he says, in this scenario, live presentations and big tours are more important to bands that make a lot of shows in a short period. Which was the biggest tour that you ever made? And what is your special preparation before and during those tours? Cheers from Brazil.
Yeah. Um, well, I guess our biggest tour was the last European tour. Our European tours tend to be the biggest ones of our world tours in general. They are huge arenas. It's a 5 to 6 week tour. So yeah, that you really need to make sure that you balance your energy out throughout
Hmm.
every day, every show, because you still have the next one and the next one and the next week and the week after to come. Um, as in preparations nowadays, because I've done it, I kind of know what's coming. So especially for this tour, that was for me right after that same breast cancer operation. So that came 3 weeks after, which was
Oh my gosh, that was so close.
Very close.
Oh, you
Yeah.
like to cut things close.
Yeah, it's absolutely
Oh,
horrible. I can tell you that. It's nothing I can recommend, but the problem was that tour we had already postponed and postponed and postponed because of the pandemic. So when this came in and I saw that the regular, let's say if you have an office job and you get this surgery done, you quit your job for a month.
mhm.
And this was 1 week shorter, so but of course I'm not going to sit in an office. I'm going to stand on stage. I'm going to be moving my arms. I'm going to, do physical work. I'm going to be traveling all the time. But yeah, I kind of thought like, yeah, what can I do? Because if I don't do this now, nobody can tour. None of the bands can work. None of the people that we're going to have. So in that sense, what is my preparation then? Then it's a one day at a time kind of thing, with always make sure that you don't give too much because you need to have your energy for the rest, but you can't really think of the whole tour in one big chunk. It's one day at a time. Take good care of yourself every day, good sleep, good food, have fun, drink your glass of wine, if you can. And that's for me, a glass of wine for me is the ultimate reward. Social moments, relaxing moments. So like after the show, as soon as everything is done and the makeup is off and the body is clean and in some kind of comfy wear versus the tight stage outfits, it's like get a glass of wine. That is a little reset moment for me. Okay, then yeah, one day at a time. So that I need to do and make sure that yeah, that I need, yeah, keep doing it, keep moving as well. Don't sit around too much. I need to work out. I need to be outside. And on this tour, for the first time, I chose to take my days off away from the cities, which also led me a bit away from the band, which was a pity. I kind of was hoping I could invite some more out on the countryside because I really charge my battery in nature. And if I'm always inside a building during show days, I can barely get out because there's always a lot of people around. So I'm usually quite confined to the building. Then on a day off, we go into a big city. I'm in the middle of Paris, London, Amsterdam, whatever. Awesome. But it's city, people, constant input of sound and smells and lights. And I very often then stay inside again. And I noticed that if I'm just outside, even in a park, I'm gonna feel better. So now I took my days off on the countryside, or at least closer to the edge of the town, or somewhere where there would be a large park or a forest, and take a good long walk and to eat my dinner in a tiny restaurant or just in my room and have some peace and quiet. And that did it for me. That keeps the battery from getting completely on the minus.
That's sweet. And you do a lot of hiking, right?
Yeah, whenever I can with the dogs or now with the baby on my.
Oh, like baby carrying?
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, a lot. I've done that. Yeah,
I love that.
yeah, yeah. She's getting too big for it now, unfortunately, but yeah,
Oh.
getting too heavy, especially in the front. It's like 9 kilos. They just pull you back. It's a bit much, but yeah, I like it.
Um, from Colin Berg, this one is, I like this. It's very straightforward, but also great. What has helped you develop such a range of singing styles and expand your vocal repertoire? We talked about that, I think, with lots of
Yeah,
different broad scopes, but I like
yeah.
that he boiled it down to this like single sentence of
Mhm.
like, oh, is there a good through line there that we could draw now?
I can't really say that there was one thing that led to another, and then but it was it must source from the hunger to learn and do more and be curious about new sounds and be lucky that I've um, been doing different kinds of music. Uh, Lucky also to become the singer of a band such as Nightwish, where you get vocally challenged very, very much.
Mm.
So in that sense, but then again, the hunger still continued, which led me to do a solo work, which is completely different. Yeah, so I guess I part of the truth is also that I get bored really, really fast. I need to be challenged. I need to do new things, and so. it's a combination. Mhm.
And actually, I'm going to ask Ruben's question here because it gets into that solo album a little bit. Looking back at your music career, what are your personal highlights you're proud of? And looking into your future, which goals are you still working on? A second solo album, perhaps?
Yeah, well, indeed, yeah. I mean, um, like I shortly touched on before, is that I kind of feel like the sky's the limit again. I don't feel like, okay, now we're in this mode is where we make an album, we go on tour, we take a break, we make an album, we go on tour. That has been kind of broken by the pandemic, and since then, yeah, things happen when they happen, which led to terrible planning, by the way. So let's not move that into the future. But it kind of meant like I felt again like, okay, yeah, I can do several things at the same time, because Nightwish is it's a huge thing, but it's not a year-round thing. Usually, we do a tour here and then we take a break, and then sometimes we don't do anything for months. It's nice for me to just pick up different kinds of things. And from there, that feeling like, okay, I don't have to do metal or pop or something. I can just do whatever. I can do a collab with Lizzie Hale, and I can do a pop song with whomever, and I can do anything actually, as long as I think it's fun and I can do it in a good way. So that, yeah.
I love that. All right, last question here. It's actually a two-part question, though. This is from Digibirder. Floor, you have really pioneered a hybrid of classical and rock vocals by becoming excellent at both genres. Yes. I've noticed you have a third style that you use sometimes that sounds to me like a true hybrid of the two. True hybrid of the two.
Yeah. A
Uh,
tongue break.
right. Was that a deliberate goal, or did it simply evolve from the music you were creating? So, question number one is about this true hybrid voice. I think it's
Mhm.
fascinating. And
Yeah.
then after that, we have second part. Did singing with
Yeah.
Devin Townsend on, oh my goodness, I'm going to say this wrong, even though I've worked with Devin before too. Amazing, amazing artist. Neurasthenia, did I say?
Virginia, yeah.
Did singing with him on that help you to make your sound blend so beautifully with the metal vocalist beast mode?
Hybrid voice first, then I think that just happened um as I started to blend styles and really try to, like I think we talked about before as well, the smooth over the part from chested to head voice. Um
Yeah.
yeah, and kind of blend sounds. Yeah, I can say the part is just a technical evolvement that sort of happened in an unaware path, and partially it's just, yeah, I can't say that I steered it like that. No, it wasn't an aware thing, but it yeah, it comes from the curiosity of trying out new things, I guess. And with working with Devin was super inspiring. I agree there that he's an amazing artist, and um, I had this sound in my head that I simply could not do. I mean, diverse as I might be, I really wanted that kind of. He also blends this mega aggression with
Hmm.
clear voice and with I mean, he can do anything. So I was very thrilled that he wanted to participate on Revamp, which was, in the end of the day, a very small project. So yeah, that was super cool. He had quite some freedom to just kind of do what he wanted, and I told him what I had in mind, and what I got back from him was really like, yes.
That's awesome.
It's more inside me, and I'm losing fading while
We're actually, Devin is on board in the study of what we're planning to,
Ah, yes.
the people that we're planning to study because of the way he switches into his screams. It's just,
Yeah, good call. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's fascinating. I do believe in this with this kind of singing that some people are just more natural with it than others,
Mhm.
which is maybe like, yeah, duh, but I really had to learn it and then I could do it. Other people can just do it.
Yeah.
They open their mouth and they just get it right. That must have been also how 9 out of 10 metal vocalists started out, and the ones that lasted throughout all the years of intense touring and probably, you know, not taking care of their bodies, like I was just saying, with good sleep and it's just partying and boozing and smoking, and somehow still managing to pull it off.
Mhm.
So, which part there is just the right physique for it? Which part is the natural talent for it of feeling okay, yeah, this is how it works, so that's how it works, and where does technique come in all of that? That's an interesting balance. I can imagine, and I would very much look forward to the results of your studies there. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so fascinated by it, especially seeing that it seems like a lot of metal singers aren't treatment sinking, meaning it seems like we're not seeing metal singers come in with uh, nodules the way we see pop vocalists come in with
Mm-hmm.
nodules as much, or opera singers especially. Whew, there's a lot of collision for opera voices in the
Okay,
in
that's
there,
interesting.
right? And so
Yeah.
there's even a really interesting paper done that was saying, hey, we're not seeing dysphonia, meaning loss of voice, as much in metal singers. And I think that that
Wow.
really makes you want to know what's being done right.
Yeah. Yeah, and the first thing I funny think of is that I think a lot of metal singers don't think so much about what they do. They just do. What we
Perhaps.
talked about earlier, that
Mhm.
the thought of, oh, maybe I'm sick or maybe I'm getting something. How big of an impact does that have to what you're doing unawarely, stress-wise in your throat, where you put on a pressure that you wouldn't have had if you didn't think about it. Um, yeah, I would be very fascinated about that element because um, I'm quite sure it's actually big, and I'm quite sure that I'm one of the living examples of uh, it can really work if you just don't stress about it too much. Then again, I've never lost my voice. I've never had a moment where I thought, I don't know what's going to happen, more than, yeah, I'm going to somehow do it. I had one show that was in Finland after the pandemic. I had been in Berlin the night before. I usually don't travel and do a show on the same day, but now this came in between. I wanted to be there in Berlin. I was and I got sick that evening.
Mm.
Um, like I must have had some kind of stomach bug, but a really, really bad one. So while I was supposed to be in a party celebrating something, I felt like, oh, this is terrible. I got so violently sick all night. And the next morning, I had to travel from Berlin to Finland and sit in a car, get to the show. And at 6 o'clock in the morning, I had barely slept and I could not stand.
Ooh.
I was so exhausted. I had been so sick and I had such a high fever that I was like, "Oh, I don't know how I was supposed to do this." So I called the people I was traveling with and said, I need, and then came a list of things to get me through the travel. And off I went. Um, and because I'd been vomiting so much, my throat was completely hoarse. And
Oh
because
my
I'd been
acid.
so sick, I was so weak, I could literally barely stand. So in came a white, I don't know, zombie version of me into this huge arena, 11, 12,000 people, first time back in after the pandemic. And I really felt like, yeah, I can't let everyone down. Um, so from there, yeah, I had to do it. And it up until the moment I went on stage, I wasn't sure. Just yeah, the guys were also, what can we do? I don't know. I really this time I don't know. And I started singing, and the voice was like, one first gear, second gear. I'm sure the first song did not actually sound good at all. But everybody was so glad that there was finally a concert again. I guess maybe that didn't quite matter, but the voice it warmed back up, and the body said, "Yeah, okay, okay, from somewhere we're gonna dig." And yeah, and it worked. I didn't over worried. I just said, "Yeah, we're gonna do it. Whatever happens, we're gonna do it." And we did it. We played through the whole 2 hours of show, and I walked off stage, and from there I
Wow.
maybe did a little crash, but I'm very sure the power of the brain there is huge. If I would have gone into, yeah, but what if, and my voice, and ooh, and there was a very valid list of problems that could have occurred, and it took me a lot of brain power to not do it. Well,
Wow. Yeah.
this example.
That's amazing because I know my brain at that point would have thought like, oh, what if I had like a hemorrhage because this is all swollen in here and that really shows I think you are resilient. You are very powerful. You have like not only do you have a powerful voice, but it sounds like you have a very powerful mind that helps
Yeah,
you through everything.
yeah. It's both my best friend and my biggest enemy, but for sure, yeah.
Right. Well,
That's what happens.
is there any way that we can support you more? Obviously, September 20th is coming up, and Yesterwind, everybody out there, Yesterwind. I said Yesterwind before we started recording, and Flora's like, Yesterwind, by the way, Yesterwind. So Yesterwind is coming
That's
out
the
on
one.
September 20th. Um, go
Yeah,
buy that is one of the answers, right?
absolutely. Yeah, enjoy it. Well, yeah, I mean, keep an eye out for whatever Florian's is going to do. Since Nightwish is not going to be so active, there's more coming from me. My website keeps itself updated pretty well with whatever comes, and I have some cool news next month. So that's yeah, maybe that. Mhm.
I'm really excited for this news now. Like, ooh. Great. Okay. Well, we'll stay tuned then on Floor World. Will you announce that news on YouTube as well?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's gonna be everywhere. Yeah.
Good,
Mhm.
good, good, good. And then album release on September 20th. I think there are
Yeah.
two music videos coming out that day as well associated with the album. So
Yeah, there's we announce it with big
wow.
yes.
Good, 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 good. Well, thank you so much. And if there's any particular anything else that I can do to help support you, just let me know. And thank you, thank you, thank you.
Awesome. Well, thanks for that offer and thanks for a lovely chat. All the best to you guys as well. And yeah, thanks for this lovely talk. It was so nice to meet you after all those years.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers.